say they are. But here we say, no, that's actually pointing to something somewhere on the web, in this case of a birth registry, I made that one up by the way, that describes exactly what they mean by being a parent. When we use that, we're saying we agree with that. Now let's see where, so that's one of the interesting concepts. So let's blow this out a little bit. If we take that URI, which had a namespace and an identifier, it really, typically has a fuller definition here. What that expands out to is very much like a domain name. In fact, usually is a domain name. And what we're doing is just hitching a ride on the domain name system as our way of getting unique identifiers. And hence, that's how it scales to the web. It's really, at some level, such a simple idea. And I'm going to contrast it here in a second with what we've done in the past with this idea. We've taken something that's a little bit simpler that didn't work. This is a simple idea that actually does work. Now, these things are global unique IDs. It looks a lot like an URL. In this case, it is an URL. And best practice, or at least very good practice, is whenever possible, you should go ahead and make these also be URLs, because it's one thing to identify a person, but maybe I want to know more information about them. And in order to know more, I have to go to the location, find some additional information, and on you go. And that's the concept there. A URL is a URI. So let's say we had a little triple store. Still only have 3 triples in it, but that's all that fits on a slide. So we've got 3 triples here. We've got this parenting thing going on. So my dad being my parent and me being the parent of 2 teenagers now. The sort of the magic bit here, and it's so simple and so subtle, it kind of can escape you literally for years, I think. So we've got these 3 triples floating around, and they will just snap together in a graph because they have the same URI. The URI on the right of one is the same as the URI on the left of the other 2. We do this thing we call node folding, or we do this thing called creating a graph, but we just snap it together and they go together. These could have been not necessarily just out of one table, out of one database. No matter where you find them, it will snap itself together. And the trick here, this is, by the way, when people talk about linked data, we're talking about linking data. It came from multiple different sites, potentially, but if it has the same URI, it'll link up. Now, going back to that example we had earlier of the programmer doing the join in the database, what we're doing here is instead of joining at the metadata level and dragging data up with it, we've got a join occurring at the instance level. Because if you watch real closely there, like I had last year, I was not harming any boiled frogs. This year, we're not harming any metadata. Because we didn't even ask about the metadata. In fact, there wasn't really any metadata, or not like we normally think about it. We just grabbed these URIs and snapped them back together and made arbitrary graphs. Now, I presume to know what you're thinking. At least there's some of you who are thinking this, because we deal a lot with corporate clients. They'll say to themselves, I see what you do. I see what the trick was there. Does that mean we now have to go to the equivalent of a universal ID? That's almost where everybody trips to. That's what this looks like. Because if it is, if you're really paying attention, and if you've attempted this, you know that this just doesn't work. The thing I just suggested looks a heck of a lot like the idea of a universal ID. Sooner or later, when you're in a large corporate system or in the government, and you have problems snapping things together, somebody says, oh, we need the universal ID. That's what's going to solve everything. But you have to go change all your systems and keep everything up to date. Sooner or later, you've got more IDs that aren't universal, and you're back to where you started. What's going on here is a little more subtle than that. It doesn't require everyone to use the same ID. It just says, if you use this ID, you're referring to the same thing, the same referent in the real world, we say. So if you use that Dave McComb URI, you're referring to me. But hopefully there's dozens or hundreds of other URIs that refer to me somewhere beyond employee somewhere and I've got a URI. I'm a vendor some dozens of places and I've got URIs. They don't have to be the same URI.